Just staring at me. Just like, as they're staring at each other, they're staring at me.
Nice.
Like, when you gonna play us?
There's a decent chance I'm gonna fart pretty loud during this episode.
And as long as you don't make the chair creak around a lot, I don't give a shit.
I'm just kidding. I think we're good. Okay. That was my way of disguising that I had to fart right there.
Oh my god. This is the most boring, soft opening we've ever done, ever.
Is this a soft opening?
Well, I'm recording right now.
That doesn't mean anything. I record a lot of stuff at my... What was the question?
I just make shit up that incriminates me for stuff, and then I put it on the internet.
Boy, if I had $1 for, like, everything that incriminated me that other people knew, A, I would have a shitload of dollars, and B, I think I speak for a lot of us when I say, like, I wouldn't want to check my bank statement, because I'd be like, fuck, that's way too much money.
I think my landlord doesn't know my checks don't work. Dog in the room.
Just FYI, that's a dog. Well, it was a dog. Our dog's a little bit of a pacer.
Was, as in, it's still alive, but, I mean, it's just in the other room now.
Yeah, she's still alive.
We didn't kill the dog within, like, the 5 seconds we announced there was a dog in the room.
That would have been incredibly impressive, though, if we had.
Let's say these are the things we don't want to incriminate ourselves with on the internet.
Especially with how much your mic picks up. The fact you would have been able to murder her that silently would have been very impressive.
Just, why?
Although I gotta say, I am not altogether comfortable with how much time so far we've dedicated to talking about murdering our sweet dog.
None of that ever happened, ever.
The murder. I mean, the chat happened.
There's
literally a record of it.
I could just delete this.
You don't have to.
You're right.
I know.
I don't have to. Okay, you know what? We spent a lot of time talking about absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
My main man, what did you do this week?
Nothing, man. I worked. Work was crazy this meeting. Can you tell I have meetings on the brain?
No,
Work was crazy
I couldn't
this
at all.
week because of meetings. I had to prepare a bunch of presentations, and we had to go to this bullshit dinner where they gave us free dinner and beer, and it was super lame.
And then the Maseratis came out, and they said, take whichever one you want.
Yeah, and I was like, I guess I'll take silver, even though it's my least favorite color of the remaining colors.
I got 3 of them.
Well, and, like, I'm gonna have to pay taxes on it, and it becomes this whole, like, oh, I drive a Maserati thing, and then I'm gonna get robbed, and it's gonna be like, joke's on you, sucker. There are $11 in my wallet.
Joke's on you. I have a backup Maserati.
Oh, man. I wish that were the case.
Yeah,
no, that's it. I mean, I worked. I went home from work. I worked out. I made dinner. I watched football. I mean, spoiler alert for basically anyone that isn't in adult life yet. Adult life's pretty boring. It's it's not boring, like, it is kind of what you make it, but... Yeah.
I've always been thankful in my life that being an artist, the name of the fucking show, I've always had a project or something I've always wanted to make, so there's never really been a point where I've been like, what am I going to do today? Oh, absolutely nothing. Unless, like, those are days where I actually need them because I'm just overworked, you know?
Yeah, no, well, I know what it's like to be overworked, but, I mean... Probably not to the same degree. I've got to imagine yours is a lot more like holding pattern and then like a bunch of days of consecutive fury where you're like, wait a minute, what do humans do during the day?
It's a general self-loathing because I'll do nothing creative all day.
Self-loathing?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Because it's like you'll be in this really great, just way you're going through things, like things are just coming off really well, you're being creative, you're coming up with some good shit, and then just the next week is just torture because nothing is working, nothing is getting done, and all of those deadlines are just like, I want to eat later, so give me some money, but nothing's done yet. I'm sorry!
God, ain't that the nature of the creative beast, though? Like, the post that I put up recently about fantasy football and shit like that.
I did read that.
Cool, and I hope you liked it, but moreover, it was the first time in, like, God, weeks, probably months, I haven't even looked, that I was like, I feel compelled to write something. Like, I have the time, I'm in, like, a good headspace, I've got, like, a thing that's on my mind.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And, like, I put it together pretty quickly, and I was like, all right, this felt good. I can't imagine, well, actually, I can imagine what it's like to not have that and to be like, I want so badly to write a thing, and I just can't. Like, the words aren't there.
Yeah, it's always the shittiest thing. People call that, like, blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
For me, fun fact, for anybody who has an artist block, usually what I've found is that whenever you're experiencing an artist block of any kind, whether it's writing, drawing, painting, music, whatever, there's, like, this weird inhibition inside you to not make what you really want to make at that time. So you're not allowing yourself to do that. So if you just try and find that voice of, like, this is what I really want to do, it'll work.
Interesting.
It's really interesting how kind of, like, for me in particular, like, it's not like a self-censoring, but it's like, you know, hey, I like to draw certain things, but then I don't do it, and then I regret for, like, not doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you just gotta do it.
Sometimes you just gotta do it. You know, that would be...
Didn't a wise man named Nike say that?
I was just gonna say, that'd be a great slogan for a company.
They would say, that's gonna be mine. Just really do it. Just, come on, do it.
Do you want me to design you a logo?
Sure. What do you got in mind?
I don't know. I'm thinking something aerodynamic and scoop-shaped.
Like a spoon? Like a rocket spoon?
Like
Dude, rocket spoon.
Rocket spoon.
Rocket Spoon Enterprises up top. We have a startup company for days.
I don't know what we're going to do, but god damn it, we're going to rocket that spoon. Yeah.
What do spoons do? They dig, right? They dig food. They rocket it faster. Eat food faster.
Okay, I'm the pitch man. Not you.
I don't talk good sometimes.
That's fine. I'm not... Okay, well, I was calling you out, but... Only compared to me, who is awesome at everything.
This is what happens when we don't have a plan.
I'm not the pitch man either.
Yeah. So what did I do this week?
Oh, yeah, hey, yeah, you. Right. Well, what did you do this week, buddy?
It was mostly just getting work done. Like, it's our respective works. I was getting comic pages done. I'm nearing the end of a respective arc in a prologue series, which I'm trying to do to get this webcomic started. And can't wait to get that all done and have it posted and hopefully see the positive response around it. The first one I did was received so well.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the next one is received just as well, or at least, like, favorably, so people are like, what is this thing you're working on?
This seems consistent in style to the first one. Is this part of a thing?
Yeah, and then they visit the blog or whatever the hell I do, and it's like, you know what? I want to give this guy money someday.
To me, your plan sounds a lot like the Underpants Gnome plan. Step 1, make comic. Step 2, question mark.
Dude, that's...
Step 3, profit.
That's kind of how it ends up working, because, like, art people don't exist to be business savvy a lot of the time.
Well, that's true.
They exist to create.
They shouldn't. I mean... That shouldn't ever be, like, the focus, per se.
Yeah. I mean, because whatever, I mean, if you want to make money in your hobby or your business or something like that, that's... If you're not business-minded, you want someone to help with that. But for me, it's always been a matter of, like, I've never been one to say, like, you know, hey, this web ring, or hey, these promoters, I want you to take... I want to sign my name over to you so you can have complete control of what I do, and then I get some money because of that. It's just, to me, that always just seems so weird. I sneezed. I sneezed.
I snows. It's like the past tense of sneeze. I snows.
I snows and I lows. I thought you were going to sneeze too.
No, no. But I got that real deep chest pain like I was gonna from what you just said.
That happens a lot.
Around the world, 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 around the world.
Yeah.
Alright. Hang on.
Okay, I can do that. I can hang on. I'm hanging on for dear life every day.
That got a little real.
Everybody knows. Fuck it. I'm not gonna lie on this shit. I don't make death jokes.
Whoa. Where was your mind going?
I was gonna be like hanging on to dear life, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I ailed of? What is my ailment that makes me feel that way?
We don't say that as ailment.
You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna talk about the topic. So after the last
Oh,
one,
you're recording.
yeah. So after the general discussion we had about workplace bullshit,
And then after the discussion we had about Japanese games,
yeah, that too. That is true. We did that. I had to think
you
about
may
that
not
for a
have
second.
seen that posted yet.
No, we don't even want to reference that.
Because, I want to reference it insofar as I just want to make fun of you for not getting it posted yet. What's the hold up? I was busy working at a job. Yeah.
That I don't have.
That's not what I meant.
It's whatever. The fact of the matter is that we've had 2 discussions now, so I think it's about time for another fantasy draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Agreed.
I thought we were going to do a thing there.
No.
So, since it's your topic that you brought up, how about you lead us in?
All right, so the fantasy drafts that we've done so far
Nerdy shit.
could be classified by some as potentially nerdy, or at the very least, like, wow, really, you guys? Kind of
Talk
topics.
about the Venture Brothers.
Yeah, and I liked them. I had fun with them, but this
Because
time I wanted to pull it in a different direction to prove that it wasn't just like a one-dimensional thing, and also to sort of challenge ourselves to think outside of the proverbial box.
Sure.
And I wanted to make sure that it was just as meaningless and hard to justify as the last couple that we've done. So we're going to keep it real simple this time and draft countries.
That's right. Where you live is now, we're evaluating you.
Yep, and we are mercilessly, relentlessly, unfairly, and wildly prematurely judging you for everything that we happen to think or stereotype about where you live. How does that feel?
I bet it feels pretty good because you're on the podcast.
Woo!
Woo!
Congratulations! Implicit audience participation. Claxon Master.
All right, so I think we agreed beforehand that I would go first.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and defer the first pick to you because in the last draft that we did, I picked first.
Okay.
What was the last one we did? Consoles? Was that it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I had a lot of fun with it, but I picked first, and I won the draft, so I feel bad.
Shut up. Anyway.
So I'm going to go ahead and defer to you. First pick.
Okay, so as a first pick, I think it just goes without saying that we both live in the United States of America.
Does.
In the center of the earth, so really we live everywhere.
Okay.
But this first pick does not reflect any lack of patriotism on my side. Just wanted to say that right out front. For my first draft pick, I'm taking Japan.
Ah, you son of a bitch, you patriotic, Hirohito worshipping son of a bitch. Get out.
Get out. No.
Get out.
So there's reasons why I chose Japan first, and I think one of the main ones is just how much of a predominant role it's played in my life in terms of my popular culture, my art style,
absolutely,
and just all the shit I like. Like I said, it's so prevalent in my life. Like we're actually recording in my room today.
Oh yeah, by the way, different location for this. Which if you heard the dog conversation earlier, and or you've heard a few share creaks.
Yeah.
That's just a setting change. I'll try not to do it a lot. Whatever. It happens.
But if you could see the entire, just where my man cave is at, just books upon books, upon games, upon more books, upon figures, upon books, upon
if you walked into this room without knowing who lived here, and you looked at the door and the little decal that's on the door, and then you looked around the room, you'd be like, a small Japanese boy lives here.
No, small Japanese man.
Not sure that's better.
Nothing. Never mind.
No.
But, so there are other more valid reasons for why I picked Japan first. I think just in terms of their entire invested interest in industry and technology, sciences. What was it? I think I looked up online just yesterday how there's just the coalitions all throughout the entire nation share like over a close to $400 billion research and development budget across all the sciences.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, if we gave that kind of money to anything besides the military in our country, shit.
Well, it's not even the money; it's the dedication.
That too.
You know,
perseverance.
Which whatever. Like, it's not like you looked up the percentage of budget and stacked them up against one another. Japan has a military, and Japan has
They have
an
a special
agricultural
defense force.
sector and everything, but it's still impressive, and it's not like you look around Japan and it's not like, oh, they don't care about this. It's like, look at that sweet ass bullet train. That is amazing.
Yeah, and it's weird too because like just coming to the technology and the train, like the bullet train fucking thing. It's like that was introduced in like the 1960s, I think, and it's like Japan is such a small country. Why would you need to get anywhere you'd want to go at like 120 miles per hour?
It's a fine question,
but they got to get to work on time, just like everybody else does.
And I'm a big believer, especially here in America, that the closer you can be to work, the happier you're going to be. Because, damn, if there's nothing worse than sitting in traffic or waiting on a light rail to get home, either at the start or end of a day, it kind of implicitly eats away into your free time.
What's actually funny about that is when I was going to school and even going to work, I would take the bus. I loved that time of the day the most because it was my excuse to not do anything.
That's fair, and I get that, but if you're driving, it's so much worse.
Right.
And at the very least.
And other things I would also like to mention is, like, I'm not a historian, and I don't know as much as I really should know about it, but there's just, like, a Japanese way of life that they kind of exhibit. It's just kind of a respectable, quiet dignity, and I kind of appreciate that. Like, what was it? The way I think it was parsed to me once was silent power. How, like, if you retain your control of your emotions, you're more dedicated, you're more focused, and you can solve problems better. And the tenets of Bushido, just like the idea that like one small mistake could end your life. It's like, it's that kind of dedication to that, just like that entire persona and that embodiment. They do it, I think, really well. And they doesn't mean they don't, like, they're just stuck up pieces of shit because they have a lot of fun.
Right.
Like, there's more to it than that, but like just the founding principles of that. I like people who are known for that kind of stuff. I like that kind of culture. It's a dedication, it's respectability, it's like all that good shit.
Well, and this is going to be our longest draft / podcast in general, I think, because we're going to have so much to say on each. I have a bunch of notes on Japan. I'll try and touch on them briefly.
Sure.
But what you just said dovetails sort of into some of the points I had for Japan. I had Japan at 7, which sounds low until you consider there was no chance I was getting it. Like, I put it on the list because Japan's cool, but I was like, you're taking it either 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So, Japan has some of the coolest lore, I think. Some of the coolest, like, mythology. Yeah. And it has some of the coolest, like, militaristic style, the samurai, the ninjas, even, like, the Yakuza. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's that cool, silent power, and that's why everyone you see online, in life, in the nerd community,
you know
and
what's
outside,
badass?
it's like ninjas. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you said, something to the effect of, it's not like they're all stuck up, they know how to release and have fun. One of my positive, I tried to put a joke reason for every country. My joke reason for Japan was they have a hilarious culture of, like, watching people fall down and insane sexually depraved behavior. Like being able to buy vending machines out of
fucking
panties.
Drinking.
And
those are in adult shops. That's like a stereotype a lot of people point to, but those are like mainly in like those kinds of shops.
And before you consider like, why are you calling that a positive? Where else in the world are you going to get something exactly like Japan? The answer is nowhere.
Also, speaking of the vending machines, because their fucking crime rate is so low, vending machines are everywhere. No, like, you can have them, like, what was it? I was actually looking at a guy who recently moved there. He has, like, a blog on YouTube or some shit. And he was like, yeah, you can go get, like, a Coca-Cola no matter where the hell you are, anywhere. There's always a vending machine next to you, no matter where you go. And I'm like, it's a culture of convenience. And that's actually really cool.
Makes sense. All right, I'll hold off on the rest of my Japanese points.
And get right to your
and
first
get
pick.
to mine so this doesn't stay crazy long. My first pick, I am taking our beautiful neighbor to the north. Canada. Canada.
Since we're sharing, I had that number 3.
Nice, yeah, that feels about right. And did you have it at number 3? Close to the United States because it feels like the United States in terms of being similar but also being really, really cool. Because that's basically the crux of my argument for Canada.
It was basically like more polite America.
Yeah, and it's got a familiarity to it, and Canada seems just cooler than the United States. Is I guess
Yeah.
how I would put it, which
Yeah.
maybe sounds unpatriotic. I'll run down my list. Canada has an undeniable quality of life. They are definitely a first world country.
Yeah.
They are right next to the United States. They kind of go hand in hand together. Canada has a higher World Happiness Index. Yeah, I busted out the World Happiness Index,
That's
which
cool.
rates how happy countries are relative to one another.
Who are the committees that goes to like the places that rate really low there? I wonder what their jobs are like.
Oh man, it's a fine question, especially when you get to like Sudan,
Burma.
Rwanda, Zimbabwe. Like,
Well,
you know what? Let's just put them into a hat and just pull the numbers out. We don't want to go.
Let's just pull them out.
But okay, so the United States in the World Happiness Index, 104.
Out of every country in the world.
Yeah, so 200 plus on the list. Canada, 58, motherfucker.
What's number one?
I don't remember. It was like El Salvador or Laos or Thailand or Cambodia or something like that.
That's
like a country that's like reasonably developed but has like a super great quality of life and is like agriculturally sustained. I don't remember.
Okay.
I looked at it and I was like, all right, this seems to make sense.
It's like Papua New Guinea. It's like, really?
More or less. Canada just seems like a really cool country. I would love to live there. I love to travel there. They have all of the major sports franchises except a football team, and the Bills visit there once a year anyway, so you wouldn't be lacking in that. Culturally, historically, there are great cities to visit and travel.
Mhm.
Kind of like the United States. The middle sections of it, not so much to do. You know, Manitoba is kind of like Kansas and Oklahoma. It's just like
it's
this crazy,
way more beautiful than
crazy
Kansas.
plains. Well, and way colder, but
Dude, like the natural beauty of Canada.
it's got, yeah, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. It's got great healthcare options. It's got a low crime rate, and a little bit of New York Times knowledge I'm going to drop on you.
Oh, shit.
They did a study about climate change. Yeah, doubters, it's real.
Damn.
You know where the best place to
Truth
live is
bomb.
going to? You know where the best place to live is going to be when the oceans start to rise? Pacific Northwest, on up through Canada, British Columbia, baby. That's where I'm headed.
We're going to just make that the new America.
Hopefully. Also, last but not least, one of the coolest flags in the world. Canadian flag's awesome.
I can dig it.
Yeah. Canada, baby. First for me.
Booyah. Okay.
I feel like we each got what we wanted.
I think so, too.
Which is kind of how they've all gone.
The United States is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, assholes. We
So,
weren't in the top two.
speaking of that, actually, the United States is number 2 for me.
Yeah, that was number 2 on my list. So.
I think it's mainly because it's the point of reference for me. This is where I've lived all my life.
Yep.
And it's really easy to see headlines coming in all day and horror stories from even inside your own country of how horrible we treat things or how horribly we handle things. Just as a history, the history of America is what interests me the most.
America's got a great history. A very, very sordid, but very interesting and rich history.
I think just the premise of America alone, like the fact that people were just like, yeah, all of these like hundreds of not thousands of years of dictatorial, like of imperial rule and shit like that with kings and monarchies, we're gonna try something a little different, and then they did it.
Yeah, the Revolutionary War is one of my favorite things in the world, just because exactly that, the spirit behind it. It's like, look, no. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't happening anymore. And then, you know, whatever, say what you will about the conquest of the land and the taking over the territory from the Native American Indians, which is a real bummer, to put it
Yeah.
lightly.
It's interesting too because I like to think about, as a fun thought experiment, I like to imagine what indigenous people would have been if they were left alone by like colonial stuff.
It's an interesting thing.
I mean, I don't want to dive into that too much right now. How
No.
about, let's make that another conversation to have.
Oh, yeah, that'll...
Because we'll know so much about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But just like the sordid but also kind of brilliant history of America and the role that we take in today, like people, even like you'll talk to British people even, it's like, why are we getting involved in so many things? Why are we in so many conflicts? Why are we going all these places and getting our noses in other people's business? And it's like, I think people will have like, you know, oh, the interests in whatever trade they do or whatever business they do. Okay, I have my own theory on that. But the other thing is like, we are a culture of responsibility.
Yep.
Like, we who became like a world superpower when superpower still mattered, we rose from that. And we attained that, and we earned it. And we're trying to pay that forward the best we can whenever we can. So when we get involved with conflicts, whether it's a war somewhere else, or even just giving aid to however many hundreds of thousands of people out there,
Yep.
there's this. It's just kind of weird, how you can have both of those and be so conflicted.
Right.
Because, like, oh yeah, Americans, whatever, they're fat, slovenly pieces of shit, but all that aid you send our country, thanks.
Well, and I think that's it. Like, America is still a global superpower, for better and for worse. Like, that's definitely waned since World War II, because, I mean, the U.S. isn't technologically dominant anymore, but there's still no doubting its place in the world, in spite of how others have caught up, is I guess what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and it's different. Like, things have gone with the changes, and you've seen a lot of changes even in America, as we've gone more of an industry-based economy to a service-based economy.
Sure.
And all sorts of stuff like that.
But, like, it's still such a part of the global economy. Like, when a bank fails, or when a country starts to fail, like, they're all so interconnected now that they all fail. And, like, you can say that of all of the G8 countries if you want to, but, like, my thing for America is, like, it's kind of trendy, especially because it's not so dominant anymore for people, especially, like, angry youths on the internet, to be like, fucking America.
This
it's not
country
even
I
so
live
great.
in.
I need to go to Sweden, get out of this hellhole. It's like, that notwithstanding, America's still a pretty great place. And culturally, like, pop culturally,
dude,
we
pretty much dominate the entire world in pop culture.
I mean, I hate to sound, culturally U.S.-centric, but I mean, it's up there at the very least. Like, the U.S. produces movies and TV and music.
Books, comics,
and,
everything.
Things that are just worldwide sensations still.
Speaking of, it's interesting. I'm going to end it on this note, but my favorite superhero of all time has always been Captain America. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like him so much is because he does embody every single thing that every single person of every country should wave their flag for. He's strong, he's independent, he's intelligent.
He's white.
That too. No. But it's just that he embodies the entire thing. Like, you want to know what America is in its peak and what every American should strive to be? Him. Be him.
Well, that's true. I mean, especially from that,
because
Captain Patriotism standpoint.
It really is. And, like, I even go back to his arc in the 80s when Super Patriot took over. When Cap didn't want to actually do things that, like, the government wanted him to do because it was iffy and kind of gross. And so they literally just said, no.
We're going to send you to Iran.
Pretty shit like that. Like, go and interfere in Nicaragua and shit. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And fucking Super Patriot takes over, fucks the whole thing up. And then Cap is like, I told you.
Super Patriot.
Yeah, because he's
like the goofest of Captain America's gallant.
Yeah, hey, yeah. He reformed a little bit and became U.S. agent. It all worked out in the end. But, like, it's that kind of thing where he became, like, when people, like, look at, they'd see him as this image of, like, flag-waving bullshit for no real reason. It's like, no, he is these things, and he will embody those in every way that he is possible. And this is what you actually think he is. This is how horrible that is. That's why you don't want that. That's why we have Cap. And for me, again, like, because I live in America, I look up to that, and I want to strive for that kind of thing. The person who is so powerful, intelligent, and has all these things to give, that's what he does all the time.
I will end the United States point with my last bullet point, which was home.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, you hate to let it influence your opinion, but God, how could you not? By the way, this seems like as good a time as any to mention that neither of us have visited any of these countries except for Canada.
That's true.
You might be thinking, well, what gives you jackasses the right to even talk about it then?
We have the internet.
To which I say, how does that not skew it? How does that not help? Because look at all the people that have been to New Zealand and anywhere in Europe and anywhere in South America and just been like, oh, it was so wonderful. I've got to go back. I love it. And just look at that through rose-tinted glasses. And suddenly it's like, oh, first pick Ecuador because I went to Ecuador in college. No, none of that. None of that bias here.
Yeah.
Just different biases.
I mean, alpacas, Peru, my friends.
Alpacas are awesome.
They are awesome.
All right, so USA was your second pick.
Yep.
Which gives me the unfortunate distinction of coming off looking at the world's foremost, looking like the world's foremost Francophile here. Because my second pick is going to be France.
Right on.
Vive la France.
Mm-hmm. That was going to make my list, but I only did, like...
France didn't make your list?
Well, because you do, like, 20 of them. I do, like, 10.
I did 10.
Yeah, because...
And France didn't make your 10?
It's,
Japan was 7 for
dude,
me.
I have reasons, okay?
Alright, we'll get into that later. But, okay. Terrible French accent notwithstanding. I picked France for a couple very, very simple reasons. First and foremost, nearest and dearest to my heart, it is arguably
Crepes.
the origin of basically all forms of modern cooking. There's a reason you hear chefs...
So Crepes was right.
Not exactly. There's a reason you hear chefs referred to as, like, classically French-trained chefs.
Yeah.
That's because all of the old French techniques, all of the old French names for sauces and stews and salads and meats, those are all still very prevalent in the culinary world. There's no doubt about how much they've contributed to that sector, and I love it. I love them for it. It's great. It's a wonderful thing to have contributed to the world, because look at how much of our lives revolves around food.
Hey, baby, you want to get stewed? By the way, my name's Stu.
Excellent. I think that's our first Life and Times of Tim reference.
Because that's
And I'm
awesome.
disappointed by that, because there should be more.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll get to more.
Cool Uncle Stoobles.
As a corollary to the food argument, look at all of the regions of France that different wines and brandies and champagne spirits are named for, including champagne. I mean, cognac comes from the cognac region of France by definition.
Yeah.
Champagne, Bordeaux, whatever. Basically pick a wine and it's like, oh,
Chocolate
yep,
Bordeaux.
that's a city in France somewhere. Yeah. They have made invaluable contributions on that side of things. Other reasons, iconic world treasures. Can you name for me an iconic treasure in France?
The Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Not that hard, right? Eiffel Tower.
I had to think about it, but...
Still, you got there in like a second. If I was like, name for me a crazy thing in, Burma, you'd be like, oh,
Elephants?
Eiffel Burma Tower.
Burma Tower?
Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe is there, the Louvre is there.
I was going to say the Louvre first, but I was like, does that count?
Not really as like a piece of architecture, but yes, as a cultural symbol.
I was going to say like the Ark of the Covenant.
France, I've never been. I would love to go, even though, like, say whatever you will about how cool it is to stereotype French people as like America haters, and maybe that's true, but like, look, as a country, very little doubt in my mind that would be near the top to visit, just to take it all in and spend like months there. Also, my joke reason, it's the best country in Red Alert 2. That's not a question.
They have the super cannon.
They have the Grand Cannon, which is easily the best thing to have. All that can take it down are air units and like whatever. Surround your Grand Cannons with like
Prison
Patriot
towers.
Missiles, and then you're safe. It's like nothing's getting in.
Not against the Black Eagles.
Well, okay. Still. Dollar for dollar. Best weapon. So France, number 2.
All right. So I'm actually looking at my list.
There we go. I snapped successfully in front of the mic one time. I'm so proud of myself.
So I'm looking at my list actually right now, and I'm wondering if my next placed one, because Canada was taken. That was actually number 3 on my list.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't have to go in order, but that's the reason I ordered them.
I'm just wondering because like the reasons why I picked them are very different for each one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at my list right now, and I'm thinking, do I really want this to be my number 3 pick or not? And who would I be insulting if I said, that used to be my number 3 pick?
All you listeners out there, yeah.
All you...
I'm sure that'll happen.
So fuck it, I'm going with my original one, Ireland.
Nice. Solid. I had Ireland at 11. Sorry, just kidding. I had 15 on my list.
All right. Oh, cool. But Ireland's kind of a no-brainer because it's for a lot of family heritage. We come from there.
Makes sense. That was part of the reason I was like, should I move this up?
Yeah. It's an identifier because there's so many, like, I'm not from there, so I'm not an Irish American.
Right.
I'm a descendant of Irish people who came to America and whatever, second generation, third, whatever. It's always just played a predominant role even in this house. Mom was always really big on her Irish heritage, and she... that was always, it's a prevalent thing in our families and our lives, especially how well I can drink.
Yeah.
But,
alcoholism isn't funny, kids.
No, it's not. This is crack, rock, cocaine. It is glamorous. It is cool. It is kid stuff.
So yeah, Ireland.
Ireland. I don't want to tread too lightly on all these topics because like I did do some research when it came to the things, and
nice.
I think about Northern Ireland and the even ongoing struggles that still go on in
Ireland
that country.
Is definitely, if you're talking about the U.S. as a sordid past, Ireland's not like they're clean.
Yeah, and so when you hear about these conflicts and all these things of the IRA, which became the real IRA, and now people who live there are just kind of like, we're under ceasefire, but I mean, there was a car bombing in 2010?
Ugh.
Yeah, that shit still happens, and it still is important there. And
By the way, speaking of Ireland and alcoholism, it is offensive, by the way, dear listeners, to call the drink where you drop a shot of Guinness or a shot of Irish cream into a Guinness an Irish car bomb. That is offensive, just so we're clear. I'm not offended,
yeah.
but people are offended, and they will let you know.
Oh, boy.
That being said, Ireland, for better or worse, and maybe this is co-opting the seriousness of your thing with a silliness of my own, but St. Patrick's Day is a great holiday in America, which is fun. Ireland has great colors. I love the Irish flag.
It is good flag.
That Kelly green or whatever that is.
Kel green, yeah.
Yeah, and the whole, I don't know, the whole, iconography of Ireland, I think, is wonderful. I've always loved that about Ireland. I think it's a fascinating country to just sort of observe from afar and be like, yeah, you guys are cool. It's not a scientific reason, but it's like an aesthetic one.
Yeah, it's full Irish breakfast. Good shit.
I will say this. Part of the reason Ireland didn't make my top 10 is their food. Come on. Get your act
not for
together.
me.
Corned beef and cabbage.
Dude, shepherd's pie.
Oh, don't even talk to me right now. I was hungry. Now I want to throw up.
So, we love you, Ireland. You got some natural beauty. You have a humble, reserved, and nice way of life.
You have
but your food is fucking gross. Get it fixed.
But your whiskeys are good.
Yeah.
All right, Ireland. I'll take it.
Yeah. I was going to actually cheat a bit and try to take the entire United Kingdom and then say Ireland was part of it, but...
It's not, but...
Exactly. I was going to cheat.
That's not cheat. That's like saying Scandinavia.
All of it.
Yeah.
That's a nation. No.
It's not.
Well, you look at the size of America, you could just eat anything you want.
With my first overall pick, I take NAFTA. Yeah. Canada, U.S., Mexico. Boom, I win.
South America? Don't need you. South America.
NAFTA, by definition, is North America.
Canada is America Junior.
And...
John Tron.
I feel like we've lost our way.
Okay, so move on to your next pick.
Alright, so since you took the USA, and I got number 1 and number 3 on my list, I'm gonna stick with my order. I'm gonna move on to number 4 on my list. I am taking Switzerland.
Okay.
Switzerland may seem like a crazy choice, but hear me out. Switzerland has been cited many times by many places. I looked it up. I don't have any links for you or names for you, but it's been cited several times over as the happiest place, or at least one of the happiest places in the world. Satisfaction with life, quality of education and healthcare, income, government services, you name it. Switzerland is near the top of those lists almost all the time. Switzerland is also the home of the World Bank, which I think is sort of symbolic of, Switzerland.
We're trustworthy.
Switzerland is like the most trustworthy. Switzerland's like everyone's like wise grandfather or like the patriarch of the family, where it's like you go to Switzerland if you have a problem.
That's actually going to be some foreshadowing into my next pick. So
nice. Switzerland, as well, look at the Geneva Convention and Geneva Peace Treaty.
You have a culture
Geneva's
of people.
in Switzerland.
You have a culture of people who want something as chaotic and as unstructured as war to have rules.
Yep. So
Damn.
For the reason, I'll keep it short and sweet on this one because there's not a lot I have to say about it besides, look,
Swiss knives.
It's one of the happiest places in the world, and it's one of the most famously neutral places, which I think gives it a great standing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they make incredible precision machinery, including watches and I guess knives.
Kick ass.
I love the idea of Switzerland. So
All right.
number 3.
Sweet. So moving on to number 4 for me. I went back and forth on this even as I'm sitting here and listening to our draft.
Real quick, in classic Switzerland fashion, it's like Switzerland is like the dude in like the beige suit at your office where you're like, oh yeah, that's Carl. Carl's great. He's a great employee. Anyway, we don't have much else to say about him. Let's move on.
So, moving on to my next pick, you mentioned the patriarchal kind of like old wise father kind of shit like that.
Yep.
For my 4th pick, Italy.
You son of a bitch.
That
was next on my list.
There's so much I really kind of just admire about Italy.
Mm-hmm.
From an artist perspective, you don't even have to say the Sistine Chapel. It's just
No.
like everybody just assumes that like this is the birthplace of so much of Western culture and
Yep.
art and even like family identity and stuff like that. I was talking to a friend of mine, more like a workplace associate when I still worked at Pottery Barn lifting
Sure.
boxes. I liked that job. Fun memories. Anyway, so I was we were talking about it, and like they talked about the kind of Italian way of life, how it's it's very family based, and it's very people who go the extra step and say it's very misogynistic, but it's like it's a very patriarchal kind of way of life.
Right.
And to me, as like a guy, that's kind of cool, but but like not in the way that you can abuse that and say like women, what are they good for? Cooking.
Right.
Like there's so many ways that can be misinterpreted or misrepresented, but there's just something to be said kind of about this romanticism of like an old family dynamic.
Yep.
And like, we take care of ourselves, we take care of each other, we all love each other, we'll fight sometimes, whatever. There's like a way of life in there that is admirable, classical, and just nice.
Yep.
There's something kind of nice about that. And I love the way that culture progresses these days, especially because we live in America, where so many of these roles are fluid, they're liquid. So many people will fulfill so many different roles and do so many different things and wear so many different hats that to see a culture that recognizes the old way, I like that.
Well,
and food, fucking A.
First things first, you're a son of a bitch, because that's a great pick. That was literally next on my list after Switzerland.
Ooh, yeah.
I thought about moving it up, but I was like, he's not going to take Italy.
I'm glad.
Why would he take
I'm glad
Italy?
I moved my next one.
Son of a bitch.
We want to limit these at 5, by the way.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were doing.
Okay, so 4. I got one more. All right.
Yeah, so Italy, I mean, the food thing, you touched on it. Look at Rome. Look at Rome's influence in the cultural development
Everything.
of the world.
Everything.
Historically. Say what you will about the Roman Empire. Say what you will about Vatican City now as like a sort of lightning rod. Vatican City controversy or whatever. Like, these are all iconic, absolutely iconic places in the world.
You wouldn't be hearing about these places around the world if they didn't matter.
And throughout history. Like,
yeah.
You can take whatever sense of jaded cynicism you have about them now and say, like, yeah, fine, but look at the past. Like, we didn't get these to be this prominent on accident.
Yeah, like what I just said. The reason why you hear about these things and the reason why they're important is because they're important.
Right.
That's the reason. So, what's number 4 for you?
Does it even matter?
Yes.
You just took Italy right out from under me.
Because depending on what you pick next.
All right. Okay, I don't love this choice, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it was next on my list. God, do you like how defeated I feel?
I snatched it from him.
Number 4 for me is Greece.
Greece.
Because if you're talking about the foundations of modern civilization, if
yeah,
you're talking about the foundations of democracy, of art, of literature, of theater, of any sort of political institution, of philosophy, you can't not basically start at Greece. You have to start at Greece. It is incredibly important historically in that sense. It is the home, I think, of some of the best mythology, obviously. I mentioned that for Japan. Greek mythology is cool. Like, it's fun, and it's kind of crazy, but it's kind of cool at the same time.
And it's also incredibly, flawed, too, because gods, they were... The basis of the entire of those stories is, we create gods in our own flawed image.
Yeah, well, and the whole nature of, the Greek tragedy and the Greek sort of tragic hero style.
Dude.
It's awesome. It's outstanding. It's a thing that we still do.
Yeah. I think the best example of that, honestly, was the first God of War game. Because you have a character that is so impenetrable, so powerful, so amazing in everything he does. He's done in by his own tragedy.
Well, and this is a bad example, but every so often at work when things get frustrating and it's I just spent a bunch of time on this project and we have to start over, I'll say something to the effect of, I feel just like Sisyphus rolling that boulder up the hill.
And people know what the fuck you're talking about.
And yeah, and it's well, cool. Cool example there. So it's so prevalent, literally impossible to discount how important it was to the foundation of every part of society, in essence.
Yeah.
I've heard it has some of the most legendarily beautiful territory. The beaches and the hills and the cliffs and the cities and the architecture.
I just have to see a snapshot of Mykonos.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking A.
No, I know. And I've seen pictures and I'm like, man, these definitely don't do it justice, but this looks like a crazy place.
Yeah.
My joke reason, if you're curious, I think the wedding tradition of smashing plates is awesome.
Very nice.
So that's 4 for me. Greece. I'm mad you got Italy, but I really felt good about Greece.
I think you won in that regard. Sorry, Italians.
Never mind. I was gonna do a bad
Don't
Italian.
even-
I was gonna do a bad Italian accent. I don't want to go there.
Save that for a continue show.
Boy, right? Or
Yeah.
or Jon Stewart. If I hear him do Italian Jersey wise guy one more time, I'm gonna lose it.
Oh God.
I
So
love
you know
Jon
how
Stewart.
I love you, Jon Stewart. Love me. Okay, so this being our last picks, I'm going back and forth on it a little bit, but
It's a tough call.
for me, Germany
Nice.
is my 5th pick.
I like it.
I think there's a lot that I kind of identify with when it comes to Germany,
That's fair.
and it's really interesting because when I was actually making a short list immediately when we decided the topic, Germany wasn't even, it was far from my head. I was just like, okay, I'm going to take Japan, I'm going to take America, I'm going to take Canada. I'm thinking about like maybe an African country somewhere, something like that.
Case in point, Germany didn't even make my top 15.
Right, but then I thought about what Germany represented in terms of like its culture and its impact on the entire world. Yeah, I had to take Germany. I think the thing that makes it interesting for me the most is that it's younger than we are. It's younger than America.
It's pretty crazy.
And so, I mean, you can get into your own sort of views of it because of like the world wars that were kind of started by them. But imagine the entire balance.
You know,
Okay.
World War II was kind of a kerfuffle.
Okay, I'm thinking of World War I
Yeah.
more.
Well, that wasn't Germany. That was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand.
Yeah, that was Slovenia, Austria, Hungary, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Germany in and of itself was a new thriving nation, and it was also the most powerful in the entire union of those countries when it was founded.
Yep.
It had the craziest national resources, had the strongest like military,
Yep.
and it was the most powerful, youngest nation, and it kind of embodied that because like we have stuff to prove. We are Germany. This is who we are.
Well,
And
go ahead.
I think I just kind of identify with this idea that you want to have something to prove, I guess, because that's what it's always felt like. I mean, you look at the kind of engineering in Germany.
Oh, yeah, that was on my list.
Modern-
That was one of the reasons I considered them.
Modern day, just anything, like, it's the same way that I actually like Japan a lot. There's like a complete dedication to making things better.
That old German efficiency.
Exactly. And fucking A, Oktoberfest.
Uh,
Which is in September.
well, that's true. It's a great choice. Germany has a great history of food and drink, which was a big part of this for me. Most of the reasons for most of the things near the top of my list center around that.
Also, the only language we will have on this earth that sounds like Klingon.
Nice. Definitely one of the funnier languages in terms of that whole stereotype about how it sounds like everything you say in German is someone
angry.
shouting at you or is
Yeah.
angry is kind of true. But the German efficiency argument's a great one. They make some of the greatest automobiles in the world, and I think that's a really cool thing. They seem like they seem like they've worked hard to distance themselves from their past for fairly obvious reasons. And everyone I know that's traveled there is like, dude, Germany's awesome. Like, the culture is cool now, and the scenery is beautiful. It's kind of like a hub in Europe, if that
It
matters
really
to you.
is. And I mean, because it still is based on that foundation of like, we are Germany.
And I love Germany's national soccer team. They are awesome.
The other thing on top of that, their insignia of the Black Eagle.
Oh,
Fucking
that's one of the coolest.
And there was another joke reason I had, Red Alert 2. You know, the France had those Grand Cannons. They have those in tank form, so it's got wheels.
Yeah, but those are only good against tanks. I actually thought the tank destroyers were one of the weaker units.
Well, fuck you.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong.
This is the
I'm
guy who
saying I
played as
disagree with
the
you.
USSR the whole time. So,
Nice.
dude, when we got siege choppers,
Siege shot. Well, that's Yuri's Revenge.
I know, but it still counts.
No, it's not canon.
It's not canon.
You're like, it's definitely
canon. All right, so get to your final pick.
That's a great choice. I am going to completely derail this draft with my last choice. And I'm expecting full well.
Somalia.
I'm expecting full well that you will make fun of me
Oh,
for
boy.
it. My fifth and final choice is
Denmark.
the United Arab Emirates.
What?
The United Arab Emirates is amazing for the sole reason that Dubai is inside of the United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
And Dubai is possibly the single craziest city, almost definitely in the world today, almost definitely in modern history, possibly ever. The sheer lunacy of what goes on in Dubai is just mind-boggling to me, to the point where I can't even process it. They build their own islands in decorative shapes. There's one, and they put houses on them. There's one that looks like a palm tree.
Yeah.
And there's one that looks like a map of the world.
And they have like a hotel that is in the shape of a sailboat. Yes.
They have a hotel in the shape of a sailboat. They have that crazy indoor ski hill in the middle of a desert.
Yep.
Who attempts that?
Yeah. It's, okay.
They have the Burj Khalifa, which is that crazy world's tallest building, which is like the sheer audacity of being like, yeah, we're just going to do this as a symbol.
Forget
to
about what
our
the Bible
own
says.
Craziness.
You know.
There's that crazy, I don't know if you've ever seen that picture of, I want to say it was Federer and Nadal. It might not be.
Playing tennis
on top of that, like,
Yep.
helipad.
That they converted into yeah. They're, it's, do you have more reasons?
No, my final thought was basically, yeah, it's really, like, it's definitely a sketchy place. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very, very messed up place culturally. I hear it's incredibly unfair to women and tourists. The whole thing feels like it is a house of cards built entirely on cards that are themselves houses of cards. And it's incredibly messed up.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, for the sheer entertainment of it, I am taking the United Arab Emirates.
You know, I kind of hope it manages to survive, because every time I look at Dubai and the UAE, I'm like, I remember Ozymandias,
I don't know who that is.
the poem by Shelley, where it's like, it's the collapsed city in ruins, and it says, "This is my kingdom, look upon ye mighty in despair." And it's just this ruined statue. Yeah. I'm just...
If there's a place in the world that describes today.
Dude, Spec Ops: The Line is pretty much the embodiment of that.
Well, and I thought about putting that in there, and I figured it would just come up naturally. That game, well, and you see it in that game. Look at all the
Giraffes.
look at all the crazy palatial nonsense. The bullet point that I had written, which I think is kind of funny, is that the entire city is so just outright ostentatious. It makes Versailles look like a crack house. It's so nuts to me what everyone there just goes to lengths to do.
I think Ben Croshaw, Zero Punctuation on The Escapist, said Dubai is like a douchebag that gets a lot of money.
It's, yeah, kinda. Like if every country were a person and you invited all of those people to a party.
Oh my god. Which one would be Flyman?
You couldn't hang out with Dubai. You'd just be like, oh, that dude is just way over there. He'd come in there in a solid gold shirt.
I can't move for shit in this, but it's a solid gold shirt, motherfucker.
And he would ride some sort of dolphin.
He would.
It's like, yeah, the dolphin's gonna die. I don't even care. I'd love Dubai. I watch everything Dubai does with such wonder and amazement, and just overall,
that entire like country is like Ripley's Believe It or Not.
It's like Twilight Zone, the country. It's so funny. Say what you will about how I think they're crazy. Someone was like, "Hey, here's the keys to a house on Country Island." I'd be like, fuck yeah, when do we move?
Before it sinks into the ocean.
Right.
Yeah. Their endeavors doesn't matter, but that's the kind of shit you can piss away.
I love it. All right, what else was on your board?
Okay, so honorable mention for me goes to two places.
Mhm.
Number one, Russia.
Nice. I thought about putting them in here. I thought you might.
Let's say for the Irish reason of a thing of heritage, like for me,
You just love alcoholic nations.
Shut up. I like potato nations.
Is the other honorable mention Australia?
Yes. I was gonna give Australia props because of Crocodile Dundee.
Okay.
No, it was it's gonna be two things. One, everyone is hard there. Everyone's like,
Are you on Australia or Russia?
Australia.
Okay.
Well, both actually.
Yeah.
Because what was it like? Seeing tourism and seeing like this mainly comes from a Daily Show report, but like when Jason Jones went there, it's like we have a saying in Russia, and it's essentially "Don't be a pussy," and I'm like, I am down with that entirely. And I mean, they're kind of like the sordid past thing of even America. Like for me,
Yeah, Russia's up there.
yeah, Canada, Russia, and America share like a weird, interesting background. One of them's the nicer older brother. One of them's the middle child, and the one that's kind of like the youngest that wants the attention.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to tell you which ones because if you live there, you can decide for yourself.
Makes sense.
Anyway, I look at Russia as kind of like a companion, a case study on also being like uniquely American in our ideals, in our pursuits of things. Because I look at Peter the Great and his expansionist stuff, and he built a fucking city on a swamp just because he said this is where we're gonna live.
The whole Russian sort of like imperialistic mindset is fascinating to me,
and it's
the
also
whole
interesting.
USSR is crazy too.
For me, it was also the interest of like, this is our country, this is what we're gonna be built on now, and then they just do it. Like, we're going to be about agriculture. Now we're going to be about industry. Do it now!
For better and worse, because those, 5-year rapid industrialization plans just cratered the country.
It's one of those weird
Ditto
things.
China.
Yeah, but I also look at contemporary Russia and how it's like it's on its resurgence, it's coming back. I'm also very fearful of the idea of Putin trying to build like this empire, but, if it was better for it was more of a positive, less warpath direction. The dedication to perseverance, I guess. Like I'm very interested in nations that don't give up.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm really interested in.
That's cool. I like that. That's a fair approach.
I'm interested in cultures that look at problems and solve them. It's just all of the countries I think I picked kind of embody that. I think Italy less so because they're just more laid back because they've already did all that shit back in the Industrial Revolution days.
Italy has its own, whatever history.
Italian way. And so, I mean, Russia, America, Canada, even Japan, like, even if geographical whatever, we're big. They're all big, and they all matter. And it's just, I'd rather have a nation like that feel like they actually have a responsibility to uphold that than just sit on their ass.
Hearing you describe it that way is now kind of making me feel like you won the draft, because I think your reasoning for picking countries was better. Mine was just like, they're cool. Yeah. I love X thing about them.
Like
and
Mike
it's
Tyson.
Awesome.
Like fucking British people are so laid back. This is chill.
Any final thoughts on Australia before I get into my...
Australia, I think I admire them a lot more. I admire, not a lot more than anything, I just admire them completely because I think about gun control, which is a major problem in this country, and everybody cites Australia as the single biggest hero when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, because mass shootings are a problem here.
Yep.
And you hear about them all the time. And it's like, you know how many mass shootings fucking Australia's been having ever since they decided to just get rid of guns outright? None.
One a day. Oh, none. None is what I said.
Nah. And I'm looking at that, and people are just told, like, you wouldn't work in a place like here. It's like, no, it would. Shut up. Because it's funny because... this is actually getting into stuff that I think about a lot of the time. Guns mean things to Americans because they were basically the tools that we won our independence with.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you look at any other country, like Japan, swords won their independence and were the foundations of like their pioneer days. You know what I mean? But guns have evolved and swords have not.
Well, in fairness, do swords need to evolve? Because swords are still cooler.
They're cooler, but...
definitely less efficient for
you
killing.
Can't like throw a sword a million miles away to shoot somebody in the head. Because again, a gun.
Because that's not that you can't throw a sword to shoot anyone.
Exactly. But the thing is that guns are more contemporary, and it's like we were fighting our independence with muskets, and there's still this cultural identity of the guns are what we use to take our country.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
And now it's being used to cripple and destroy our country, and that scares me.
I wouldn't go that far, but I get what you're saying.
It's a bunch of layers. There's more things we can talk about, but it's
but I'm over it. I want to get to my honorable mention.
Can I just make one thing about Australia?
Fine,
The thing I admire in that regard about Australia was also that the person who wanted and voted in that legislation to outlaw guns was of the opposing party. So we look at our democracy and we look at the things that we have and how everything is gridlocked and everything is held back, and I'm like, you know, you don't have a country's interest at heart when you care more about being reelected than actually solving problems. And until we're no longer content with that in this country, nothing changes. And so I'm hoping that resurgence happens. And thankfully, it's going to be when all the old, embittered, possibly racist people die. Not profiling Republicans only, just old people in general. Go die.
I'm glad you said possibly, because I do not necessarily share your optimism. But, you know, hey.
This is also coming from the person who just said, go tell old people to die.
Yeah.
I don't mean that.
I'm going to go hug Grandma and Grandpa just in case.
I love my grandparents.
Too, yeah.
They'll be the ones that I save.
Nice. Okay. Honorable mentions for me. I'll run through them with my very quick justifications, because I had 15 on my list.
Uh-huh.
I had Thailand next up, because again...
Sagat.
Well...
Street Fighter.
Thanks. For the sheer, like, insanity of their culture and, like, the crazy sexual lunacy of the lady boys and sex shows, I think is a very funny reason. That wasn't my first reason. Number one was food, and number two was tourism. I hear no one I've ever talked to about Thailand has come back being like, it's overrated. They've been like, that was outstanding. I want to go again, and I want to live there now.
Nice.
So Thailand was there. I put Mexico next because Mexico, I think, is a very interesting case study in like the duality of countries. You've got these beautiful like Puerto Vallarta style resorts with these like impossibly beautiful sort of waters and beaches and resorts.
And then you see Juarez.
And yeah, and then you know you've got crazy ass everywhere else in Mexico where the drug cartels run everything. You've got Tijuana, which I think. Actually, I had as a positive because I think it's a funny like joke to make, and it's a cool place San Diegans can go. The main this is gonna sound very stupid, but the main reason for my inclusion of Mexico, and I'm not kidding you, is because Mexico City was the spot where Mexico City is now was the Aztec city of Tenochtitlan, and the reason they decided to found it there was because the elders or whoever it was had a vision. Of founding their city where they found an eagle perched on a cactus eating a snake. That was their reasoning, and that's why that's still on Mexico's flag in the center panel.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's kind of fucking awesome.
That is insanity, but also crazy.
Dude,
awesome.
You know, it'd be one of those things where it's like, you know, this is going to be the condition for us starting our country. I want to see a row of corn that's red, a row of corn that's blue and white, a big square of it that's blue, some things that are white, and I want 50 stars as a premonition for all the 50 states we're going to have.
I actually feel like that's more like Betsy Ross. I'm like, why can't I think of a flag? Oh, this is driving me nuts. And she walks out into a field, and on one side are like amber waves of grain, and on the other
and purple
side,
mountains.
On the other side, is your cornfield in front of some purple mountains. She's like, she does the thing. She puts her finger up,
and the
like,
little light bulb goes off, but it's like a glass light.
Yeah,
just to show how dated it is.
I had Ireland on my list. I've heard it's beautiful if you like, you know, that style of climate at least, and they've got a great history, like we talked about. I had New Zealand on there mostly because I've heard it's a great place to travel. It's gorgeous, and it was a little subtle nod to Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah.
I had Sweden on there for mostly the same reasons as Switzerland
and New Zealand present.
Happiness index for Switzerland, usually pretty high. Great place to live, as I understand it. I had Spain on there, because Spain seems like one of those cool, classic, old European places to visit.
It's like UK's Mexico.
Yeah, alright, I'll buy that. And then my last one was kind of a joke inclusion, but Jamaica, because I think Jamaica is funny. And maybe that's insensitive to Jamaica, but...
Snoop Dogg stopped wearing the hat because it was itchy. That's why he's not Rasta anymore.
Is that the real reason?
Yes.
Alright, I'll buy it. Alright.
Snoop Lion no more.
Yeah, what I think's funny about this, and I'm sure, I mean, there's plenty of potential for us to just get raked over the coals for this. None of us took anything in the UK. None of us took even, you know,
I wanted to cheat
England.
and get, like, all of it. But
you could have taken the UK and gotten Scotland, England, Wales. I would have let you.
Yeah.
I would have let me, but I just didn't want it.
Part of me...
It's probably a mistake, isn't it?
It probably is, mainly because, we look at developed nations that play a huge role in, like, we've cited things like that in our history of things. I took Russia before I even mentioned the UK at all.
Yep.
I thought, like, I think it's one of those weird things for me because I was like, I looked at that part of the world. I was looking at Africa a lot because I was looking at South Africa, and the main reason I would want to
I
take
thought about South Africa.
the main reason I wanted to take South Africa was because it has the dopest flag, and it has over like 11 national languages, and how it's like a hub for travel across like it's Africa's like point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And both geographically and everything. But then I looked at the kind of rape culture that exists there.
Well, and the entire, like, I don't know, if you're talking about sordid histories,
Yeah.
South Africa is the most cleaned up of what is still a very crazy continent.
Yeah.
Part of the reason there's so many languages is because Africa was colonized very racistly very many times.
Yes, it was. And I actually looked at Papua New Guinea as well. Because the one thing that fascinates me the most about that is that there are places on their official maps that are black. They are empty. No one knows what's there.
That doesn't seem right.
It's right.
How does Google Maps not know?
Because it doesn't.
We'll see
No one
about
has gone there.
We'll see about that. You're like,
All right.
how?
It's still, I think it fascinated me the most to hear about that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
I was like, really? In this day and age, there is a place where no one has been.
It's a cool thought.
I mean, even if you wanted to take the cheat route and just say, like, oh, we flew a plane over and took pictures, whatever. That doesn't count for things, you know? Because, like, oh, what, more trees? Whatever. It's so weird to me.
That is pretty weird.
Yeah. I think this was a good list.
I think this was a great draft for all of the reasons that I'm sure many people will be like, this was your worst draft. I thought this was a lot of fun, and I thought we did a pretty decent job at least justifying our choices.
Yeah.
It's not like it was blindly like,
I feel
spin
bad.
a globe and put your finger down like, looks like I'm taking louse.
It's like the Daniel Tosh joke.
Mm-hmm.
You ever spin a globe and mash your dick on it and go fuck somebody from that country?
Ooh, Indonesia.
Relief is on its way. Oh my god.
But yeah, this was good. See, I'm glad we took it in a different direction.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good change of pace.
Never mind. I was going to make another honorable mention, but it was stupid.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but
We're
I mean,
past that.
we're past that now. I think we did good. I think we are justifying.
Superman does good.
Superman does.
We do well.
Who said that?
Tracy Morgan.
That's awesome.
That was on 30 Rock.
I fucking love that.
Yeah, that was Tracy Morgan.
I've never heard that before. Because I'm the guy who's into Superman.
Well, it's not a Superman thing. It's a grammar thing.
You know what we should do next time? Superheroes.
I mean, alright, I'm down.
Dude.
Except for I know how it's going to go already.
Well, for you...
Who do you think you're going to take first?
Don't shut up. And no, you... Because we could actually discuss this again. This would be like the fucking Adult Swim shows thing, where it's like, why would you take that compared to this? It's like, because this is awesome.
True. It's a thought. Full disclosure, I've heard a Fantasy Draft podcast about superheroes, which is why I never suggested it.
Yeah.
But
was
we'll
it our draft?
No.
Damn right it wasn't. Because ours would be too real.
It sounded really, like, proud.
Dude.
Like, damn right it wasn't.
Shut up. Okay.
It's a thought. If we don't do a draft next time, we'll think of a topic. I've got a couple I've been kicking around.
Alright,
like
cool.
the idea of, I don't know, insensitivity culture on the internet, I think could be interesting.
Which one was that again?
Just like the idea that, you know, oh, XYZ thing is cool, and this other thing is fine, and this other thing is funny, but this thing is not funny, and therefore no one should do it on the internet.
Because judging people is what makes your dick bigger.
What I'm getting at is the internet needs to get over itself, which
Yeah.
is a...
Which is just asking people to get over themselves,
more or
really?
less, yeah.
Yeah, right. So how can we end this as myopically as possible? I'm gonna just kill myself. My son is dead. I'm contemplating I won't kill myself. Hey, Dad, my ex!
I mean, I guess you could do that, but, you know...
It'd just be The Economist.
If you do...
Which is...
Well, ouch,
Branding.
first of all. Second of all, it's gonna mean you lose the draft.
Shit. I have a reason to live another day.
Boy, I hope that's not the only one.
Cigarettes.
Oh, we should draft drugs.
Dude!